Pap, it's your boy Mr. CJU. What's the deal, man? Back with another video. And in this one, I'm going to talk about, the question I get asked a lot is, does authorized user trade line still work? All right. Now, authorized trade line is, when you piggyback on somebody else's credit line and they post it on your credit report. So if they got a long credit history on that trade line, maybe 10 years old, and they got a credit limit of about 20,000 with good payment history, and you slap that on your credit profile, it can increase your score. You can get piggyback off their credit age, you can piggyback off their credit limit. So your score can go up. Now, the thing that I know a lot of people want to know is, can it help me get funding though? Can it help me get approved? Well, here's the thing. Authorized user trade lines are not a substitute for bad credit though. So if you're going to get an authorized user trade line added to your credit profile, you still need to make sure you got no derogatories, no collections, no charge-offs, right? You need to make sure you don't have no late payments. You need to make sure you don't have a lot of inquiries, right? Because people will get trade lines added to their credit report but still need credit repair. Don't do that, because you can't apply and get access to anything because your actual personal profile is still jacked up. All right, and another thing, the banks want to see primaries. The banks authorized user strategies was real strong. Was a real strong hack that you can use. 2, 3, 4 years ago. But right now, banks want to see primary accounts, and what I mean by primary accounts is the credit cards that are actually open in your name, not somebody else's that's been added to your profile. They want to see that you have established, credit history for a while. They want to see that you have had no late payments. Like, let's say some of the top banks like Chase, Bank of America, Amex, right? They want to see that you have had a credit card for at least over a year, all right? Especially if you had a credit card for over 2 years, you're really solid. So what's a starter credit card, right, that can help you get over to those top banks? If you got that Capital One always going to be the first ones to, offer you something, right? If you got beginner credit, Capital One be the first one to mail you something to the house. So let's say you have no credit cards, but Capital One sent you a credit card, and you took that credit card, you got approved for $300, right? And you just chilled on that $300 credit card for a year and a half, 2 years. That's all the banks want to see. They just want to see that you just had a credit card in your name for a year, 2 years. Another good starter credit card is a Discover card, right? Discover is, I would always start with a Discover card because they're a cool bank to start with. So let's just say you ended up getting Capital One, and then you got Discover, and both of those credit cards is aged 2 years, all right? And you ain't done nothing else. Amex see that, Chase see that, BOA see that. They see that you had 2 primaries that's been built on your own. They'll approve you. No problem, right? No problem. They'll show you love. Now, let's say you have no credit cards you built on your own, and you just added some authorized user trade lines on there, and then you try to apply to those banks. You can most likely get denied, because when the banks look at your profile, they're going to say, hey, we don't see any primaries. We don't see any accounts in your name. We just see the ones you added from somebody else, right? So they do work. They can help you, increase your credit score, but don't bank on them. Don't bank on them unless you got your own primary set up and built, and also that your credit doesn't need any credit repair, all right? Because you could be wasting money, because there's people who charge, right, to add those trade lines onto your credit profile. So I would say definitely don't pay no enormous amount for them, right? Because they not as impactful as what they used to be. So if somebody's, I ain't knocking nobody hustle out here, right? I ain't trying to knock nobody off who's selling trade lines. I'm just saying, I wouldn't recommend you spending thousands of dollars on adding trade lines to your profile. Nah, if somebody offering them for a couple $100, cool. I would recommend, trying to go holler at your auntie, hollering at your uncle, holler at your grandma, holler at a family member, or, even if it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, I would recommend hollering at somebody, getting with somebody and you check their profile and they end up having an old credit card and they wasn't tripping on adding you on as an authorized user. So therefore you ain't have to pay out of pocket for it, and it gave you that little boost. All right? That's what I would recommend, because also when you pay for authorized user trade lines, they usually only on your credit profile for a certain amount of time, and then that company or whatever person added you, they're going to end up taking you off. Right? So that's another reason why you don't want to pay for it and get it added on unless your personal profile is already good, so it even makes sense. Or you'll be wasting your money and you'll be wasting your time as well. Alright, so I just recommend knowing somebody to add you on there at this point in time for Authorize as a trade line. Again, they do work. Just don't bank on them 100%. Make sure you got everything else taken care of on your profile and you're using it just for a little boost. You're not using it to depend on you getting all your funding. Primary accounts is what the banks are looking for. Primaries. All right, it's your boy, Mr. CJU. Man, y'all already know. Hap, hap.